Hey YouTube, for today's video I'm going to show you how to establish site-to-site VPN between Cisco ASA and Juniper SRX. The type of VPN that we are going to configure is route-based VPN. On the Cisco ASA we are using VTIs, and on Juniper we are going to use a tunnel interface. So it's pretty much just like ASA. I'm not going to focus too much on the ASA since I already have 2 or 3 videos showing you what you need to put into ASA in order to get it to work between Fortinet and between Fortinet and Cisco ASA, and between the 2 Cisco ASAs. So this video is pretty much going to focus on Juniper SRX, but I will try to show you a side-by-side comparison that if something goes into ASA, what's the equivalent on the Juniper side and the opposite. Okay, so let's begin. I'm gonna go into the Cisco ASA just to show you that what's already in there. Show interface IP brief. I have a static route to the internet. I have internal network. This guy is representing my internal network, and this is the internet router. I have a static route to the internet, and on the internet router nothing much is going on. Show IP interface brief. I have just 2 connected routes and a loopback representing just internet access, nothing else. On the ASA, I have NAT configured for my internal network, so the host in the inside network, show IP. Yeah, this is the host that is in the inside network. They can get to Google just fine. Sorry, this is not Google, by the way. Level 3. And yeah, everything is pretty much okay. And this time around I'm using virtual PCs, which you can just add them on the fly without having to configure anything in there, and they just work fine. And on the Cisco ASA we have objects, just one, and that's pretty much all. It's basically a very standard config. On Juniper, this is the VSRX. Gonna log into it, and then in here I just have, matter of fact, show route. I have a default route. I have a host in here that is connected to this box. Then under show security NAT, I have configured NAT rules, shows NAT rule, and shows security policies. Just have a very basic policy that allows everything from internal network to the outside. And I can ping the SVI, and from the host, if IP show IP, this is the host that is on this side. As you can see, I can just ping Google. Everything's fine, right? Level 3, it's not Google again. So back to the SRX. This is a very generic scenario that I have internet connectivity, a firewall, but now I need to be able to connect to these hosts from this side and the opposite. So I need to establish a route-based VPN between these 2 firewalls, so the traffic can fly from the internet, from this router, encrypted to this one, and gets terminated in here, decrypted, and gets to this host. So let's begin. Now I want to give you a side-by-side comparison of what we need to put in place. I already configured the Cisco ASA for that purpose. So show run tunnel group. What else? Showrun interface T10. As you can see, I've already created the tunnel interface. Trying to think. Showrun crypto. Let's start from phase 1. Crypto policy. Crypto Ike version 1 policy. This is my this is the only policy that I have. This is phase 1. Showrun crypto IPsec. This is my phase 2. And obviously I enabled Ike version 1 on the outside interface, which is here. So what should we do first? I normally start from the Ike phase 1 policy. So let's go to the Juniper site and create this one. So Ike phase 1 policy, it has to match to the one that I'm configuring on the Juniper. Let's do that. So I'm gonna go to Juniper and create something known as Ike Proposal. If I want to give you a side-by-side comparison now, Ike Proposal is equivalent of Ike version 1 policy or Ike policy in Cisco ASA. So I'm gonna go here, the VSRX, set security Ike Proposal. Gonna name it something that makes sense. Phase 1. And then I'll have to specify the criteria. If I look at this side, my criteria is that authentication is pre-shared, encryption is AES, hash is SHA-1, Diffie-Hellman group is 14, and lifetime is 8 hours. So I'm going to set the same thing exactly. Lifetime is 28,800. And then authentication method is pre-shared key. And authentication algorithm, let's see, SHA-1. And next one, Diffie-Hellman group, let's see what's available. I'm gonna stick with 14. Has to match the other side. And show compare. Let's see, what do we have in there? Authentication, Diffie-Hellman group, lifetime, encryption. I'm still missing the encryption. And encryption algorithm, AES, I believe it's 128. Yes, correct. AES 128. Gonna stick with CBC. And then show compare. So this is exactly this one. So we look good. I'm gonna commit it. And sure enough, there is no trouble. So now let's go for Ike phase 2. Show crypto IPsec. These are the criteria for Ike phase 2. Let's go create that one. So in here, I'm going to set security. This time around for phase 2, I'm going to say Ipsec Proposal. I'm going to name it phase 2. And then in here, I have to specify the criteria again. Lifetime, seconds, 3,600. And encryption algorithm, I'm going to stick to AES 128 CBC. What else do we have in here? PFS, and authentication. Encryption authentication algorithm. I'm going to stick to HMAC SHA-1. Let's take a look, show compare. We also have to specify the protocol, which is ESP, which, if I want to show you, it's set right here. So side-by-side comparison. So far we look good, but we have to also specify the PFS. But it's not going to be done under this section. So I'm going to go set security IPsec policy. I'm going to name my policy phase 2 policy. And then in here, I'm going to select my proposal, which is phase 2. And then I'm going to select my perfect forward secrecy. And then going to stick with Diffie-Hellman group 14. So let's do show compare. This is exactly, so these two pieces are exactly what this one is about. So I'm gonna commit it. Now we have to create something known as Ike Policy or phase 1 policy, but it's slightly different. So let me show you what is the equivalent part on the Cisco ASA. So show run tunnel group. You can see that I'm setting my pre-shared key here, and the type of tunnel by default is the main mode. So in here, if I want to repeat this, I will have to do it with set security Ike policy. I'm gonna say this is my phase 1 policy. And then in here, I'll say pre-shared key, just a clear text. And then in here, I'm going to say Juniper. That's one of them. Second, I have to say what's the mode. And in this case, I'm going to stick to main mode. And then finally, I'm going to say my proposal. So my proposal is the phase 1 that I already created, which is this one that I had created in Juniper. Let's do show compare. Okay, now I have my passphrase. I selected my proposal and the mode. Now I have to something additional, which I cannot really give you an exact equivalent on Cisco ASA, but maybe this one could come close a little bit at least. Show interface T10. This one is acting as a crypto map. So in here I'm saying whatever I configured kind of comes together in this particular line, which in Juniper you have to configure something known as security gateway. So in here I have to say set security. Matter of fact, let me commit this first. Haven't committed that yet. Okay. So I have to say set security gateway Ike gateway, and then I'm gonna give it a name, site A. And in here I'll have to specify a few things. First, my Ike policy, the one that I created just a few moments ago. And if you type in a question mark, you will be presented with your policy. So that's a very convenient way from Juniper to give you this option. And then I have to specify the peer address, which I can do it with this. Show interface IP brief. That's this IP address on the other side. And gateway site A. And finally, the outside interface, which is, you can also specify the dead peer detection external interface, which in this case is this interface that is facing the public. And show compare. That is my gateway. But this one acts as a crypto map in a sense that if you want to configure policy-based Site-To-Site VPN on Cisco ASA, that's where you use the crypto map. This one is still incomplete, meaning that now you have a tunnel interface in here that we still don't have it there on the Juniper side. So we have to create that one. And this is the syntax for that. Set interfaces st0 unit 0 family inet and an address. In here I have to match the same subnet. Doesn't have to be the same address. So I'm gonna go say 172.16.2/30 and then enter. So once I do that, this is my equivalent of the tunnel interface. So the next step for us would be to bind this interface to a zone. In Juniper, there's a concept called zones, just like Cisco ASA. If I do show name if, you can see that each interface is assigned to a zone, even the tunnel interface. So I'm gonna have to assign this tunnel interface into a zone. So let me actually show you what I mean. Set security zone. And by the way, if you're not familiar with how Juniper is set up, there is a video that I already recorded a few months ago. You can go check that one to see how you can put your initial config into Juniper SRX. So let me show you the security zones. I have an outside zone and inside zone. In here, I'm going to assign the interface into security zone outside. Then I'm going to say interface st0 and then host inbound traffic. This does two things. I can just stop here, show compare, creating the interface and then assigning it to the outside zone. So I can just commit it, but also I need to define what sort of traffic is accepted on the outside, which is destined for the device. Again, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, please go check this video. So in here, I'm going to say host inbound traffic, protocols, Ike, system services, protocols, system services, Ike. This last command that I put in here is run crypto Ike version 1. This is exactly this. I'm enabling Ike on the outside interface. So I'm going to commit that. Now the next step for us would be to create a static route, show run route. As you can see, I'm pointing 192.168.2.0 to the tunnel interface, but not to my own tunnel interface. This is just a static route. I'm pretty sure you guys know and are familiar with the concept. I'm going to point it to the Juniper SRX, the tunnel interface on the other side. So I'll have to do the same. I'm going to say set routing options and then static. And I'm going to say, route 192.168.2.0/24. And then I have to point it to the next hop, which is 172.16.1.1, which is the tunnel interface on the Cisco ASA. Show compare again. And this is how it looks like. So I'm not adding a static route. This has been there before. This plus sign means that I just added this one. Gonna commit it. Now there is a step that I don't really find an equivalent part on the Cisco ASA, which I have to create something known as security Ipsec Vpn. And in here, I have to name it. I'm going to name it Site A. And in here, I have to define a few things. First of all, I'm going to go with Ike. I will have to select my gateway. So this is kind of an aggregation point as well. In here, the gateway is Site A. And then after that, I have to select the interface, which is ST0. So far I've configured the Ike gateway. Now I have to also select the Ike Ipsec Policy, which I can select it from here. And then one final thing, establish the tunnel immediately. So the tunnel will stay on no matter what. And then show compare. And as you can see, we are almost done. Will it work? No, because I have show security NAT, because I'm NATing traffic from my internal network to the outside. And this is slightly different from Cisco ASA. So this is relatively smaller. If you compare it to the side on Juniper, the problem with Juniper is that it takes this NAT statement very seriously. And there are ways to mitigate that. But the very simple and easy one is to configure a no NAT statement or NAT exclusion, which you can also do it in Cisco ASA. But in Cisco ASA with VTIs or with tunnel interfaces, you don't need to do NAT exclusion. But on the Juniper side, you need to. And that's how we are going to do it. So show security NAT, and then I'm going to say display set. Now I have to sandwich my rule in a way that before this line, before this part, I can put in something in there that says do not NAT this particular destination. So I'm going to say set security NAT source rule set, and then inside out. And then I'm going to say rule no NAT match exactly the same source, the spirit of copy paste, and then destination address site A. And then if I do this now, this is right here. And then I have to say, what am I going to do with this? A then statement. And then I simply say source NAT. In comparison, I'm saying source NAT use this pool, Jerry. But this time, I'm going to say source NAT off. Now I'm saying traffic comes from this source. There's no destination, basically anywhere. Just source NAT it into this particular IP address, right? And then if traffic comes with this source and goes to this destination, don't NAT it. Will it work? 100% no, because there is an order and I have to put this statement in here, the first one, so that it's read first, and then if there's no match, then it's gonna NAT the traffic, basically traffic to the internet. So I'm gonna say insert security NAT source rule set inside out rule no NAT before rule set before rule path. And if I do show display, now my rule is inserted on the top. So it's going to be processed by Juniper SRX first, and then if there's no match, the host, this rule is going to be applied and the host can get to the internet. So I'm going to commit it. Okay, so now it's time for us to go and test it. I'm going to go with 192.168. First, let's test the internet. If it's working, fair enough. So our NAT rule didn't break anything. I'm gonna try to reach 192.168 1.10. Not working. Great. So we have some troubleshooting to do. I'm gonna go show crypto. Let's see, show run route. I have the route. If I want to reach the VTI on the other side, let's see if I can. I cannot. Oh, that's a good indication. Run ping the VTI on the ASA side. So it, okay, that could be because of a security rule. Show crypto Ipsec ASA, or let's go with version 1, but I don't think that's the problem. It's up. Ipsec ASA, it is also up, and we are encrypting traffic, or we are encapsulating and encrypting, but not decrypting as much as we have to. Trying to think what could be the issue. No NAT, blah blah blah. Our NAT rule seems to be correct. Show run, show routing options. How did that happen? Beautiful. So this is the wrong route. So I have to. This is my local subnet, which I think wasn't paying enough attention. Delete it, and let's just set it again. But I have to correct this part. I want to reach to this network using the VTI interface, which is the other side's subnet. Let's just commit it. And then I'm gonna try to reach the other side, and sure enough, it's working. Okay, this was relatively long, but now we are able to exchange traffic encrypted over our virtual internet between Site A and Site B using Route Based VPN between Cisco and Juniper. You might be wondering, okay, what if things go wrong? Well, I can't just make this video unnecessarily longer, but I already showed you a few tricks with Cisco ASA so far. You can also go check my other videos, which I describe how to establish Site-To-Site VPN on route-based VPN on using VTIs between two Cisco ASAs. But on Juniper, things could go wrong if you don't know what you're doing. A few verification commands that I can at least give you most of them with show security with Ipsec and Ike. For instance, I can go with show active peers. As soon as you see this, at least you know that something is up. If traffic is not passing through the link or passing through the Site-To-Site VPN, then you should be looking at other problems. Security association, and of course they come with their own details. For instance, you can check what sort of encryption you're using, what a Diffie-Hellman group, if it's being used in phase 2, and etc., etc. How much traffic you're exchanging, are you encrypting, you're sending them out but you're not receiving them, etc., etc. And under IPsec, of course, feel free to discover what's going on in here. With IPsec, you also have few things like show inactive tunnels, which we don't have, statistics to see basically what you're doing, again, encrypting, decrypting, and that's pretty much it. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this video has been useful. If it was, give it a thumbs up, consider subscribing. Also, feel free to request areas that you have problem with. For instance, you have problem with Palo Alto, Checkpoint, and Meraki. Anything that you feel like you need more exposure to or you need more information on, I will take a look, and if there are enough requests, then I might consider creating that video for you guys. Peace out.